What if the real battle over Nigeria's insecurity is not only being fought in the forests of Sambisa or the villages of Zamfara, but quietly in foreign capitals, ideological alliances, and diplomatic back channels that Nigerians are rarely invited to examine? What if the loud argument against American intervention and the sudden redirection towards Turkey and other Muslim-majority states reveal more about power, ideology, and influence than about Nigeria's actual security needs? This investigative script does not make accusations as facts. It lays out timelines, public statements, geopolitical positions, and contradictions, and then asks the questions many Nigerians are asking, but few leaders are willing to answer. The story begins outside Nigeria, not inside it. Around 2018 and 2019, during the height of Boko Haram's splintering into ISWAP factions and the worsening sophistication of terror attacks across the Sahel, Egypt publicly raised concerns about Turkey's regional activities. Egypt, under President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, has been one of the most aggressive opponents of political Islam linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. For Cairo, this is not a theoretical disagreement. The Muslim Brotherhood was once Egypt's ruling party, and after its removal from power, Egypt designated it a terrorist organization and has since viewed any state that supports it as a strategic threat. Turkey, under President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, openly rejected Egypt's position, provided safe haven to Muslim Brotherhood figures, and framed its actions as support for democratic Islamist movements rather than terrorism. From Egypt's perspective, Turkey's foreign policy under Erdogan represents something deeper than diplomacy. It is ideological expansion. Ankara has backed Islamist-aligned groups in the Middle East, offered political and media platforms to exiled Islamist leaders, and positioned itself as a protector of Muslim causes globally, from Gaza to parts of Africa. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, and Jordan reacted by tightening alliances against what they described as political Islam, destabilizing secular or multi-religious states. These countries formally designated the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. Turkey did not. Instead, Turkey doubled down. This matters because Boko Haram is not simply a local Nigerian problem. It is part of a wider ecosystem of extremist ideology, funding routes, weapons flows, and regional instability stretching from Libya through the Sahel into West Africa. Boko Haram's ability to evolve, splinter, rearm, and sustain itself over more than a decade has consistently raised the question security experts still debate. How do groups hiding in forests and borderlands acquire advanced weapons, logistics, and financing? The answers have never been simple. Some weapons are looted from military bases, some come through black markets fed by conflicts in Libya after Gaddafi's fall, some move through porous borders, but intelligence analysts have long argued that such flows rarely survive without state blind spots, ideological sympathy, or indirect international channels. This is where accusations, not conclusions, enter the conversation. Egyptian-linked media and analysts have at different times suggested that Turkey's broader Islamist foreign policy creates environments where extremist networks thrive, even if not directly commanded by Ankara. These claims are fiercely denied by Turkey. No international court has ruled that Turkey funds Boko Haram. No United Nations report publicly names Turkey as a Boko Haram sponsor. What exists are intelligence suspicions, ideological patterns, and geopolitical rivalries that shape how different countries interpret the same facts. Now shift the lens back to Nigeria. When the United States launches airstrikes against ISIS-linked factions or Boko Haram cells, the Nigerian Islamic Clerics' reaction is immediate and loud. Statements warn of sovereignty violations, civilian casualties, Western agendas, and religious polarization. The argument is familiar. America cannot be trusted, America destabilizes Muslim lands, America intervenes for its own interests. Yet, when these same clerics are asked what alternative international partners Nigeria should rely on, the answer is often not neutral African coalitions, not multilateral African Union forces, not even purely domestic reform. Instead, names like Turkey, Pakistan, or other Muslim majority states are raised. This contrast is at the heart of the investigation. Why is US military involvement framed as an existential danger to Nigeria's unity, while Turkish involvement is framed as morally credible or ideologically safe? What standard is being applied, and who defines moral credibility in a conflict where civilians have been slaughtered for years? Sheikh Ahmad Gumi's statements illustrate this contradiction clearly. Gumi has repeatedly argued that killing terrorists through airstrikes is not the solution, that dialogue and negotiation are preferable, and that foreign intervention, especially by the United States, will worsen Nigeria's problems. At the same time, he has publicly suggested that if Nigeria must seek foreign military help, it should turn to Turkey or Pakistan. This position raises unavoidable questions. If airstrikes are wrong in principle, why are they acceptable when carried out by certain countries? If sovereignty is the concern, why is it selectively invoked? Supporters of this view argue that Turkey shares cultural and religious affinities with Nigeria's Muslim population and would not frame counterterrorism as protecting Christians against Muslims. Critics respond that this framing itself is revealing. Boko Haram kills Muslims and Christians. Bandits burn villages regardless of faith. Yet the fear expressed is not about civilian death in general, but about narratives that expose religious persecution. When American officials explicitly cite the protection of Christians, it triggers outrage. When Islamist-aligned states are suggested as alternatives, it is presented as neutral. This leads to another uncomfortable question. Is the resistance to US strikes really about civilian protection or control of the narrative? Western involvement comes with global scrutiny, human rights reporting, sanctions regimes, and international attention. Islamist-aligned states operate with quieter diplomacy, fewer public conditions, and less external pressure. For local elites who benefit from ambiguity, silence can be safer than transparency. Nigeria's history deepens the concern.
For years, communities under attack begged for help. Villagers in Benue, Borno, Zamfara, Kaduna, Plateau, and Niger states reported massacres, kidnappings, and forced displacement. Often, the response was slow, muted, or buried under statements calling for calm. When local militias attempted self-defense, they were disarmed or prosecuted. When foreign governments raised alarm about religious violence, Nigerian officials downplayed it. When US strikes finally happened, the reaction was immediate condemnation, not from the victims of terrorism, but from voices that had long urged restraint toward the terrorists themselves. That silence after attacks, followed by outrage after counterattacks, is what many Nigerians find impossible to ignore. The Turkey question intensifies the puzzle. Why is Turkey, a country actively involved in conflicts in Syria, Libya, and the Eastern Mediterranean, presented as a safer alternative? Why is its ideological posture overlooked while America's is magnified? Some analysts argue that Erdogan's Turkey represents a vision of Islamic political revival that resonates with certain clerics. Others suggest it is about power alignment rather than theology. Turkey funds mosques, cultural centers, scholarships, and media outreach across Africa. Influence is built softly before it is felt politically. Again, none of this proves weapon transfers to Boko Haram. What it does prove is that ideology shapes alliances, and alliances shape silence. Countries hostile to political Islam warn about Turkey's reach. Countries aligned with Islamist movements defend it. Nigeria, sitting at the center of West Africa's largest security crisis, becomes a battleground not just of guns, but of ideas. Meanwhile, the core tragedy remains unchanged. Nigerians are dying, farmers are displaced, children are kidnapped, roads are bombed, forests remain lawless, and the debate often focuses more on who should not help than on who will actually stop the killing. An investigative lens demands another hard question. If Turkey or any other Muslim-majority state were to intervene militarily in Nigeria, would Nigerian clerics accept civilian casualties as collateral damage? Would sovereignty arguments disappear? Would negotiation still be demanded? Or is the real issue not violence itself, but who controls the moral framing of that violence?
history offers caution. Extremist groups thrive when ideological sympathy shields them from decisive action. They survive when dialogue becomes endless and consequences are delayed. They adapt when pressure is uneven. Boko Haram has outlasted multiple administrations, multiple strategies, and countless peace talks. What it has not faced consistently is unified moral clarity. This script does not argue that the United States is a savior or that Turkey is a villain. It argues that selective outrage reveals priorities. When foreign bombs fall on terrorists and clerics speak louder than when terrorists bomb civilians, something is wrong. When ideology determines whose violence is tolerable, the victims become statistics. Nigeria's insecurity cannot be solved by importing alliances without confronting internal contradictions. It cannot be solved while negotiators dine with killers and victims bury their dead. It cannot be solved while religious leaders fear foreign scrutiny more than domestic bloodshed. The final question remains open, and it belongs to Nigerians, not foreign powers. Do we want a security strategy guided by ideology or by the value of human life? Do we reject help because of who offers it or because it truly harms civilians? And if Turkey is the preferred partner, what transparency, accountability, and guarantees will Nigerians demand? Until these questions are answered honestly, terrorism will continue to exploit silence, ideology will continue to blur responsibility, and Nigeria will remain trapped between foreign interests and internal denial. The war is not only in the forests, it is in the narratives we choose to protect and the truths we are willing or unwilling to confront.